Okay, so fourth round game. I'm paired up against Jonas Tang, and I did a bit of preparation. I saw his chess.com games, and at this point in time, he was high rated than me, so I do realize that I need to be a bit careful. And so I play my normal stuff after e4. I play c5, so basically my only weapon against e4, but I'm also working on e5. On the first move, but yeah, essentially my entire repertoire is based on the Sicilian, and for knight f3 d6, bishop b5. And this move I expected because I did not see any of his games that included the open Sicilian, um, at least in his chess.com games, so I expected this move, and then I prepared knight d7, which is definitely the most fighting and confrontational of all the options. And after c3, knight f6, attacking the pawn, d3. And now this is where I was a bit confused because I think the main move is just, I think after knight f6, like queen e2 is possible, or even like just castling here. I think the point is that if I take, then there's going to be d4, and I think theoretically black is doing, white is putting a lot of pressure. White is already better here. So I think I was expecting castles mainly, and then I would have played e6. But my opponent plays d3 here, and after the game, he's mentioned that he just wanted to get a position out of theory because he hasn't played a classical tournament in a long time. So he just played d3, and now we're basically just playing based on the typical structures and themes. And here, what I understand from this position is that black can develop the bishop two ways, either to e7 or through g6 and bishop g7. And the point is that when white plays d3, it means that they need to take an extra tempo. They need to waste an extra tempo to play the move d4, meaning that this quick c3 and d4 thrust doesn't come very fast. And when this kind of move like d3 is played, with very slow intent, that means that g6 and bishop g7 is really strong. Meaning that if, for example, in this position castles and then I play g6 here, I think that this is already kind of dubious because first off, d4 can already open up the game. And again, taking on e4 with e1 looks very dangerous. So against this like quick thrust of c3, d4, black should refrain from playing g6 and rather should choose e6 and bishop e7 because it's more solid. But once they play d3, I am very comfortable in playing g6 and bishop g7 as d4 doesn't come really fast. And so knight bd2 was played, bishop g7, knight f1, and here, I realized that white wants to just like play knight g3 here, which is a typical maneuver, but the reason that white decides to not castle first is to essentially save tempi here by because if they castle first, then they're gonna have to play rook e1, then knight f1, knight g3. But with knight f1, they can immediately go knight g3 and then castle next. But actually, this is, I think, this kind of idea is not very accurate. After castles, I think is correct, bishop a4 was played. And here, okay, I mean, this move is just trying to get out of the a6, b5 thrust. And so here, what I should have done is realize that this bishop a4 move is really provocative and takes away or removes control over the c4 square. So what's really strong here is I can play c4, undermining the base of the pawn chain. After dc4, I can take on e4. After bishop c2, I can just play knight d to c5 with my knights really coming to life. For example, knight g3, I just come back with the knight, castles b6, bishop b7, or bishop a6. And this is just not a good position for white to have because both the bishops on these diagonals are going to be very strong. So that's what I should have done, but instead I go for a more standard plan of playing a6, and the idea is that I want to play b5. But again, a6 is not really useful here because I don't gain a tempo on the bishop, and what I should have really done is played a move like rook b8. The idea is that in these kind of closed Sicilian positions where there is the pawn on c3 and pawn on b2 especially, like this kind of structure is really vulnerable to the plan of b5, b4. And that's the typical plan that you should go for when you're playing against the closest Sicilian with the black pieces. And after rook b8, you know, I can play b5, b4, and I don't need to play the move a6. Rather, I can just keep the pawn at a7, and when needed, I can play a5. So that's already an improvement. But instead, I played a6, and after knight g3, here I play a very interesting move, knight e5. Now, in hindsight, this is not the best plan. What I should have done is just, you know, just play standard with b5, bishop c2, bishop b7, and then d4. But this is what I was kind of afraid of walking into. But this position should be very okay for black, I think. And instead, I played knight e5, and I kind of look at this position and I thought, you know, it's, even though I'm weakening my pawn structure here, I have firm control over the d4 square, and so I thought that I had really good play here. But again, what I should have realized is that this is really an anti-positional move because it covers my bishop on g7, and what I should really be going for is this b5, b4 plan. But after this, castles, I play b5, bishop c2, bishop b7, and I thought after queen e2, a way that I can try to increase the control over the d4 square is by this maneuver with knight e8. I thought this was quite clever, playing this maneuver. And if I'm like fully ready to sacrifice a pawn on f4, if that opens up my bishop and you know, has this kind of idea. But after f4, this really causes some problems because first off I have to take, otherwise f5 is coming, and after takes, rook takes. Rook takes I think is very possible, and here again what I should have done is immediate b4. Why not, right? But instead I play the move e5. So 2 times I make this anti-positional move, putting my pawn in the center while just blocking my bishop. But the point again is that, like, I'm trying to control this d4 square, but that really is like a false understanding of the position. It's just a misunderstanding because this is not how you're supposed to play. And after rook f1, knight c7, I thought I was being clever with this move with bringing the knight to e6. But after bishop e3, queen e7, my opponent plays this really strong move that I only saw after I played this position, is bishop b3. And now it gets really uncomfortable because once I play knight e6, they can just simply take on e6 with the bishop. And even after I play rook ac8, once I play knight e6, yeah, they can just take it. And they play this really strong move with queen g4. Instead, you know, queen f2 is possible, I think I calculated. Then after that, I probably would have played, because they're attacking c5, I would have played knight e8, c4 is possible, knight f6, h3, rook fd8, queen e2, b4, a3, a5, rook f3, h6, rook af1, and white just has a massive advantage here because of the pressure on the f-file. So that was another way that white could have gotten the advantage here due to my inaccurate play of like choosing the middle game plans. But instead, queen g4 was chosen, and this was a really strong move also because it really asked me a question of like, how am I trying to untangle? There might be ideas of knight f5 in this position, and so I really didn't see a better move than to play knight e6 here. And I wasn't happy with this decision because first off, they can just take on e6 here, I think. And this kind of endgame, I'm not sure. Maybe it's actually okay for black, but you know, this kind of weakness on this side of the board, plus the bishop on g7 being stuck, from a human perspective, this doesn't look very good. And instead, I actually also missed this tactic with rook takes f7, which the computer points out. And after king takes f7, which is forced, preventing any like bishop takes e6 with a pin, bishop g5 is very annoying. And after bishop f6, rook f1, king e8, bishop takes e6, rook c6. This is kind of a forced line. Rook d6, bishop e3, queen d7, takes, bishop takes e5, bishop e7 takes, c4. White just ends up better in this position. So yeah, rook takes f7 was a really missed opportunity by my opponent. And instead they play this move rook f2, which is quite slow here. And I managed to play c4 just in time before white is able to increase the pressure with rook a to f1 or take on e6. And so here after d takes c4, b takes c4, bishop c2, I play the move rook c to d8, now controlling the d file. And after, I think there's another possibility pointed out by the computer, which is h5 here instead of rook cd8. And after queen e2, knight d4, which is really crazy. Takes, and there's this massive pawn mass in the on d4 and c4. Possible also, but I'm not a computer, and so I don't think about knight d4. And so I just play rook cd8, and they play bishop e6, rook d7, and then queen e2, attacking the pawn on c4. And here I just play rook c8 to defend the pawn. And after bishop e3, I play the thematic pawn sacrifice with knight f4. And this is like the entire idea that I was hoping on when I looked at, the knight e8, knight c7, knight e6 maneuver. But it only really worked out because my opponent like made a mistake and didn't like get the advantage immediately. After bishop takes f4, e takes f4, rook takes f4, the idea is to play bishop h6, and after the rook moves back, there's a lot of weak dark squares, especially f4 and e3. And so here I increase the pressure with the queen c5, a really nice move to prepare bishop e3, and also threaten some rook d2 stuff. After knight f1, covering the e3 and d2 squares, rook e7, applying pressure on e4 here, and I think we were already down, we were both under a bit of time pressure here, so rook d1, and then I play this move f5, which is really risky, but I thought that, I calculated a few lines after this, but I thought that I needed to go for this if I wanted to muddy the waters. They play king h1 here, which just gives black a free pawn, but what they should have done is rook d4, and I discussed with Jonas after this game that I had to play king h8 here because there was actually a threat of like bishop takes e4, rook takes c4 here, with bishop e3 stuff here. So I would have had to play king h8, and after knight d2, white manages to hold everything together and even like attacks the c4 pawn. So this became a kind of unclear, and so, but I was expecting rook d4, but after they play king h1, I was just very happy here. I just took the pawn on e4, bishop e4, rook e4. After queen c2, I just double on the e-file, and this should be very good. Like this should give a big advantage. Now I'm just threatening some rook e2, possibly some rook e2 infiltration, or like rook e1. And so rook f3 was chosen, and now I play queen c6. I thought this was kind of clever, preventing any queen a4 ideas that would have attacked the a6 pawn, and also lining up with this diagonal, this diagonal with the king. Queen f2 was chosen, but now I play rook e2, and after queen h4, I just play bishop g7, and I thought here that, white is just falling apart here. After rook f2, trying to trade the rooks, I play g5, and this is, I think, the move that my opponent missed. The rook f2 makes sense. You just want to trade off the rooks, the active rook. But as soon as I play g5 and like queen g3 comes f4, what ends up happening is that they have to defend the rook on f2, so they're forced to play queen f3 here. And after I trade the queens, they're forced to take with the rook, and now I can take on b2 freely, and I'm just up a pawn in this endgame. So this should be completely winning, but my opponent played g3 here, and things started to get a little unclear. I needed to calculate a lot of variations. What I calculated was, I think, like some bishop e5, rook e1, king f7, gf4, rook h3, and then I don't think I saw this during the game, but I think this should give the advantage to black. Bishop e5, yeah, just holding everything together. But instead I took an a2, and after g takes f4, the idea was to push this move g4. And I thought that with h5 coming to support the pawn, this f4 pawn may also be weakness, so I was quite happy to go into this. But still, I didn't know like the objective evaluation of the position. Rook g3, h5, knight e3, and now I played rook e4 to defend the c4 pawn. I think I needed to keep as many pieces on the board as possible if I want to keep chances alive. And after knight f5, I played rook takes f4, knight e7, king h7, rook d5, and so now I'm up 2 pawns. But there are some ideas of like, if I defend the pawn with king h6, then knight f5 may be very annoying. So here I just took on c3 with a nice trick that if they take on c3, I can play rook f1 mate. And so instead, they took on h5 with check, and I saw this king g7, knight d5 attacking both pieces, and I play a very cute move here, bishop d4. Now, during the game, when I saw this, I thought that I was a genius. But a few seconds after I played this, I realized that white has the very nice resource of actually playing rook g1. The point is that if I take on g1, then knight takes f4. And now there is no like immediate win here. But yeah, I'll just go after that. Yeah, I'll just go into that variation after this. Play bishop d4. Obviously, if they take on f4, then I just play check. King goes up, and then rook g1 is just mate. So I saw this in time trouble, but an easier way instead of bishop d4, I think, was just to play rook f. Yeah, instead of bishop d4, is just to play rook f1. After they play rook g1, just trade. Bishop d4, king f1, and I think just c3. I mean, I don't see how this doesn't win. Yeah, I think check goes up, and then like the pawn just queens. So I think this is also like completely winning. Possibly this is a bit, you know, this is still completely winning. So this, yeah, this was also easier, I think. But instead I play this fancy bishop d4 move. The point is that actually after rook g1, which I thought was a very clever defensive move, and I take, knight takes, I could have played bishop e3 here, again with like some threats, yeah, of like rook a1, rook g1, and so this is also completely winning. And so they played rook g5 here, and I played king h6, rook h5 check, very nice move, trying to distract the king. Or actually place the king on h5 so they can take on f5 on f4 with check. And after this, king h4, knight g6, king g5. They played h4 here. And this is a very interesting tactic because once they take on g6, they take on g4, and they win this guy. But I calculated until the end that this is like a winning endgame. After king h5, rook takes d4, c3, rook d1. Because if they play here, I can just play c2. And if they step to the side here, I can just check and then promote. And if they step up here, then I can just promote the check. So that endgame is winning. And instead they played rook d1. And here I just played rook d2. A very nice move. Because if I play c2, rook c1, okay, this is also winning. But I need to play a lot more moves now. So instead I play this move, rook d2, which I saw. And the point is that now after rook c1, I play c2. And there's no preventing rook d1 check. Just promoting. So quite a dramatic game, to be honest. I thought that I had quite good opening preparation. Actually no, like I realized the idea of playing g6 and bishop g7 is correct, but I didn't follow it up correctly. I should have, objectively I just should have played rook b8 and then played b5 before going for the minority attack. And instead I went for some like ridiculous 98, 97, 96 maneuver, which really just shouldn't work in most positions. So that was just me trying to be too creative. But at the very end, managed to win this game, so quite happy about that. And yeah, I am on 3.5 out of 4 in this tournament with 5 rounds to go. So that concludes this analysis. Thanks so much for watching. Hope everyone's doing well. Stay safe and have fun playing chess. Bye.